Good evening. I am Cynthia Elliott, President of the Rochester Board of Education. Today is July 9th, and we are here for three purposes. One is a public hearing for the contract for excellence. We're here to consider resolutions, and we're also here to have a public hearing on the state monitor's recommendations. And so we'll start off with the contract for excellence, and I have a statement here to read, and then I will call on speakers. The Rochester City School District is conducting a public hearing to gather input for submission to the New York State Education Department regarding the contract for excellence. The contract for excellence is based on New York State law, which requires specific school districts to develop a plan to improve academic achievement, particularly for students with the greatest educational needs. The plan is required for school districts with at least one school identified as in corrective action, restructuring, or in need of improvement. Additional state funding provided for the contract of excellence must be used to support continuing programs or to develop new initiatives which primarily boost the achievement of students with the greatest needs, such as those in poverty, with disabilities, and English language learners. Each year, the district is required to submit a fiscal summary and narrative to the New York State Education Department to demonstrate our compliance with the contract for excellence requirements. The budgeted general fund expenditures are identified in the fiscal plan by school and purpose. The district's 2024 planning document so far for the contract for excellence, along with other details regarding comment submission, can be found on the website at www.rcsdk12.org/C4E. The district is waiting on additional required information from the New York State Education Department to complete the plan. After receiving that information, the plan and narrative will be submitted timely. We now welcome public comment on the 2024-25 Contract for Excellence Plan. We have two speakers for tonight's public hearing, Elizabeth Robinson and Francis Rogers, and I'll call up Elizabeth Robinson first. Ms. Robinson? All right, thank you. I will call up now Francis Rogers. Good evening.
I was expecting a little bit more information from the monitor's point
Excuse
of
me,
view.
Ms. Robinson. Is that mic on, Tom? Okay.
Okay, I need to speak into it.
Yes, ma'am.
No problem. I thought it was going to be more of a larger presentation on the breakdown of the scope of the on the monitor's behalf. But my question was, I was looking at the PLCs in the.
Let me just say, Ms. Rogers, we won't be able to answer any questions. We will just listen to your comments.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So again, misunderstanding there as well. So one of my questions was, what is the plan to get 100% for all schools to implement the PLCs within the master schedule? That was one question. Okay. The second question was, how does the district plan to monitor the impact of PLCs on student achievement? And then if the ultimate goal is to show higher student achievement on a variety of measures, then there needs to be added a monitor that not only for the implementation of the PLC process, but in the schools, but also its impact on student learning. So that was my
Ms. Rogers, for the audience, could you just say what PLC is for the viewing audience?
Professional learning communities.
Okay.
Which is a broad strategy with different levels of understanding. And so one of my other questions was, in what perspective was the monitor looking at PLCs? In what dimension? Is it just for teachers to engage in the professional learning with student work? Is it the entire building? Is it the district? So there's different levels of PLCs, and I wanted to know what was the final definition of how we're looking at PLCs.
Yeah, I'm thinking that this is probably for the state monitor's presentation, not for the contract for excellence.
You're right.
Okay, yeah, this is the contract for excellence public hearing.
Okay.
So in a few minutes, we'll have the state monitor to present, and you can ask
Come
those
back.
questions at that time.
Thank
All
you.
right, sorry for the confusion.
It's okay.
All right, thank you. I don't think there's any other speakers, and so because there are no other speakers, this particular public hearing for contract for excellence is closed. Thank you. And so we'll go on to the state monitor's presentation, his public hearing. Mr. Alicea.
Have the PowerPoint. Good afternoon, President Elliott, Vice President LeBron, commissioners, people in the audience. I am glad that you're here today with some questions, and I will appreciate if you leave me the notes after, because this is a hearing, but those are the things that we need to address in order to make sure that the plan takes action and is a living document. So thank you for being here. So. Again, this is the public hearing for the academic plan for the year 24-25. And in collaboration with me is Dr. Mark Porter, who is the fiscal consultant for the Rochester City School District. The chapter, again, this is a brief summary. These are a lot of the slides that I shared at the presentation last month. Chapter 56 of the laws of 2020 requires the commissioner to appoint a monitor to the Rochester City School District to provide oversight, guidance, and technical assistance related to the academic and fiscal policies, practices, programs, and decisions of the district, the Board of Education, and the superintendent. Some of my responsibilities are to serve as a non-voting ex officio member of the board, to assist the board in adopting a conflict of interest policy, and to work with the board to develop a proposed academic improvement plan and financial plan, and that's why we're here today, and to ensure that each annual budget is balanced and consistent with the district long-term financial plan. The development of the plan must include long-term goals, outcomes, the desired impact that will result for implementing the monitor recommendations. And again, I want to say thank you for asking that question because it will be addressed here. And the recommendations are what action must be taken by the district. What do we need to do? What does the district need to do in order to continue to improve student achievement in the district and the financial situation that the district was a few years back. The academic and financial plan contains long-term goals or outcomes, recommendations by the monitor and the fiscal consultant. We did an alignment with the new strategic plans and the goals. And what we are looking for during the four report that have to be submitted is the evidence that the district is implementing these recommendations with fidelity. In the academic plan recommendations, there's a total of 47 recommendations for this school year. When the previous monitor was here, there were 92, so we're down to 47. The district is making progress, but we need to continue to focus on supporting our staff, supporting our students, and supporting our families so we can continue to make progress. Those were the areas. In turnaround leadership, there are 9. Talent development, there are 6. instructional transformation, because that's what our business, instruction, they're 22, culture shift, 4, and system, resources, and structure are 6. One modification from the feedback that I have received from the last presentation that I did on June 11th is to include, we talk about having the PLC to provide feedback to the board and for the board to work with the parents, but there's also 2 other committees, the Bilingual Education Council and the Special Ed Parent Advisory Council. So I also included those 2 councils in the recommendation. In the financial plan recommendation, there are 33. We have also made some gains in this area. There are 14 general practices. There are 4 with governance and programmatic decision-making, legal and financial audits, budget development, organization, structural and internal operation efficiency, and 1 in transportation. Again, 33 recommendations. The first year, there were 54. This year are 41. And based on the progress, we have 33 that still need more work for next year. One modification is moving 1 recommendation that was in the academic plan to the financial plan, and that is F31 now, and it's about the Medicaid compliance officer. And at the last Finance Committee, we had the compliance officer who did a great presentation, so we need to take that to the next level to make sure that we are following with his recommendations. And this is a public hearing. I appreciate the feedback today. And if anyone has any more feedback, to please email me or call me at that number. I'm looking forward to get more feedback from the stakeholders, because together we can transform the Rochester City School District. Thank you.
Thank you, State Monitor. So now we will entertain speakers for this public hearing. And the first one, Ms. Robinson, would you like to restate based on what you've heard the State Monitor said, or? Oh, sorry. We've got Elizabeth Rogers, and so I'm getting it confused. My mistake. Thank you, Ms. Rogers, for correcting me.
So I did address, and I did thank you for the presentation. And again, thank you for allowing me to speak during this public hearing. So again, and I am a teacher. I didn't really introduce myself. I am a teacher of 30 plus years entering this school year. And so my concern is the work of the teacher and the heavy load that's going to be placed upon them to help with the transformation. And so my question was about the PLCs. That was number 1. But then I noticed in the document, it kept mentioning administrators. And my question was, who are the administrators, or in what capacity of administrators are we looking at to help monitor? And who reports to the monitor, the state monitor, in making sure that all of these things are taking place and there is evidence? So that was one of my questions. Who reports to who? Where's the accountability? I know teachers have accountability, and so I want to know where does the administrators in the building, where's their accountability in terms of making sure this shift takes place? It also talks about transformation, and I didn't really notice where the work is being divided. I saw where there's accountability on the superintendent, where he has to make sure that he's reporting in different capacities. But if the work is going to be done, it has to be a shared venture, a shared vision for everyone to be able to move. And so so my question, I'll go back, where is all the accountability? So I would like to see a graph where we know who's reporting to whom in terms of the work. And then one of my last questions was the communication. The work can't be done if there isn't communication across the board. And that starts at the building level on up. And from my experience, there's not a lot of communication in terms of work needing to be done. It's directives, but there's no shared communication in terms of understanding and providing the resources for, again, teachers to do the work. So the communication piece needs to be in place in order for everyone to have an understanding of what is expected of them. And then again, it goes back to the accountability piece.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Unless you have another question.
No more
All right.
questions.
All right. So we will take that in advisement. Thank you. The next speaker is, let me just call to see if Elizabeth Robinson is here. All right. Laura Smith.
Hello, I'm Laura Smith. I'm the parent of a RCSD student about to be a second grader. So I had planned a lovely 3-minute speech, and when I tested it just before leaving the house, it was closer to 5. So I'm throwing it away, but I don't want to throw away what is in it, so I would respectfully ask that I'm going to email it to you, and I would really like you to share it, because a lot of my comments reflect comments I've made in previous years about understanding the document from a family perspective. The document isn't necessarily as accessible as it could be, and we don't really understand where we are on this journey to improvement. So instead, I'm going to talk just about one of the recommendations, and that's recommendation A1, which is in relation to the appointment of the new superintendent. And throughout the process of having a state monitor, I've heard the state monitor and others talk about the skills, the qualifications, the experience needed by this person to be the superintendent of this district. And I guess I want to respectfully challenge us to stop chasing for a unicorn. This person who's going to save us all from our issues doesn't exist. And in the approach to A1, your recommendation relates to the search. And I actually think we might be better spent thinking about where are we going wrong in the role and the distribution of responsibilities and expertise, so that whoever we appoint in that role can actually achieve the things that we're setting out for them. So I just want to give you an example. So I have been participating in the city program to design bank accounts for children. They're fundamental, I believe, to improving the experience of our kids in this community. And the RCSD is also participating in that. At the rollout meeting, there was at least 5 people from the RCSD who were in very senior positions, and those people were present but checking their work email. And I thought to myself, well, are these the right people to be in the room? This program is all about how families would use this money, how they would participate in this, and how we can bring families out of poverty through it. And I actually thought that the district would have been better served by sending some parent liaisons or some people who work much more closely with the families to give input on the kind of challenges, the kind of perspective, the kind of situations that they're encountering, which may be relevant to those accounts. So one thing that the district could do is revisit in what capacity you want your superintendent and your senior leadership team to be the front face of your organization, and look at ways that you might better use their knowledge and experience and actually pool more opportunities for people to participate who have different experience and therefore use the time better. Did I run out? I ran out?
Oh, I've never heard that before. So I was thinking it was a phone.
Thank you for listening.
I'm like, somebody's doing the phone. I'm sorry. Yes. Oh, my God. I never heard it. Yeah. All right. So that concludes the speakers for the state monitors public hearing. And so as a result, this meeting is closed.
Before you officially close it, can I just give a quick public comment to what he just presented on?
I guess that's not really.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'll
Yeah.
talk to him.
All right,
separately.
all right. So this hearing is now closed. Thank you. And so next meeting is the consideration of resolutions. And so opening this meeting for that particular person, there's no speakers for this particular special meeting. So we'll go on two resolutions, and if it's okay with my colleagues, we'll bundle these resolutions, if that's okay. And so is there a motion for resolutions 2024-25, resolutions 1 through 23?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Malloy. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President LeBron. Any questions or comments relating to resolutions 1 through 23?
Yeah.
Commissioner Malloy?
Just two questions. I'll just start with well, are we doing it one at a time, or can I ask my two questions? I'll try
sorry.
to be quick. I just have two questions
Okay.
total, but two separate resolutions in that bundle.
Fine.
The first is just for letter C, or number 3. I'm trying to get a better.
Which resolution is that?
Three.
Number 3? Okay.
Action, yeah. I just am trying to get a better understanding of procurement, the procurement process. I'm not as familiar as some other people perhaps, and I'm wondering if there's more documentation that just could be provided to the board, just so that we have an understanding, because it says within the resolution that there weren't any other vendors, and that's why we didn't do the procurement of an RFP process, because I know it's over $35,000, and when that happens, we have to go through an RFP process. So this is for $150,000, and I just wanted to, it says within the resolution that because there weren't any other vendors who were qualified to provide those services, that's why we didn't go through an RFP process. I'm just trying to understand the scope of those services specifically, and I want to have a better understanding of if there weren't other people in the community who could provide those bilingual services, just so that I have a better, I don't think we need comments by other commissioners right now. I'm just asking a question, which I think is a very valid question. Again, this is valuable work. We need to have this in our district. I just want to have a better understanding to make sure that we're on the up and up, and if there's more documentation that could be provided to commissioners on that. Thank you.
Well,
Oh, that's the first part of it. I also wanted to know if these are sustainable, because these are paid for by ARP funds, and those are set to expire. So this is the only year that we would be able to provide with those funds this type of service, which is needed for our district, don't get me wrong. Is this sustainable? Are we building an infrastructure that we can sustain over time and further provide those services in the future? And where will those funds come from? Thank you.
So just to answer the question about the funding, it was originally as part of the ARP funding, that dollars are gone. So this year it is in the A funds, in the local funds for that service. It is a highly specialized service. It is our partnership with Bilingual, which they've been deeply trained in working through the restorative process with us, working at the hub and providing the training to our students, families, and staff that speak mostly Spanish around restorative practice implementation and training them on those various skills.
General Counsel, you was going to respond?
Oh, I was just going to say, very briefly, you hit the nail on the head in terms of like procurement processes, and so of course the district has policies that trigger certain types of procurement when you hit certain monetary thresholds for vendors. The resolution says a determination of the purchasing agent. So the purchasing agent does do work to evaluate, to make a determination before things over certain monetary thresholds make it to the board. And there is documentation if they're saying this is the only responsible entity. And the language is pretty specific, right? It says it's unique or from only one responsible entity. And so that does occur before it makes it to the board. But we can absolutely provide more information and that documentation for matters making it to the board.
And then in terms of just the funding, I know you said that this was transferred over into the A funds. So was it ARP funding that was budgeted for this year that was transferred into the A funds?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Because it says on the resolution that it's ARP funded. So that's why I'm asking this question in the first place. So you're saying it comes from our A funds, but was this ARP funding that was then transferred into our A fund accounts? And my question is more about sustainability over time, because now that it's in the A fund, it's not the special ARP funding, which is not going to continue after this year, how are we going to sustain this, I guess, long-term?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. So the contract was larger when we had ARP funding. We no longer had that, so we had to make some cuts to the services that we obtained from this particular vendor to help us with the work. So sustainability is always a concern. I'm going to be very honest. Of course, we look for grants, but we also try to have folks in-house who are bilingual that could be a part of the team to help support us in the work that we're doing. So in that way, we're looking of how we're going to sustain it, both from training in-house folks, but also looking at grants to help support the work moving forward.
But I think I'm also hearing what you're saying, Commissioner Malloy, that is listed as under ARP funding as opposed to A funding. That's what the document is saying.
I just want to put on the record that it is listed as funding general funds. If you go all the way to the bottom of the resolution,
Okay.
it has the budget code. Anyone can go and compare the budget code into our budget book to find the actual item line. I just want to put that out there because I don't want to cause further confusion.
Yeah, you're correct. It says that it's been budgeted, but not loaded at this time through local funds.
Yeah.
Right, I just think that, as commissioners, obviously, we have a better understanding than most people in the general public, and there's just a lot of swirl in the community, and if I can put that to rest by asking these types of
Yeah.
questions, I think I'm doing my due diligence as a commissioner. So again, I think these are valuable services, but, there has been a lot in the community and countywide, and I think it's my obligation to make sure that I'm making sure
So on
we're
record,
accountable.
we're clear that it is from A funds and not ARPA funds. Okay.
But
All
we're
right.
transferred from ARPA
Yeah.
funding.
Nope. there-
But it was
in-
already.
Oh, hold on a
a-
minute,
oh,
hold on.
Okay,
hold on.
'cause-
Yeah, let her finish. Go ahead. Go ahead, Commissioner Malloy.
No, I think Ruth was trying to answer. She
Okay.
was explaining it.
In the 24-25 school year, it is budgeted using A funds, our local funds. It is not ARP funded.
Okay, so but were there ARP funds set aside that
Nope.
helped us finance that for this year?
Not for this year, previous years. We use ARP funding to support the work for the last 2 years.
With the same vendor?
Yes.
Okay, that's helps to clarify things. Thank you very much.
Did you have another question? Did you have?
I did. I had a similar question just around Resolution 23, just around the pathways. So I think it's similar about sustainability and a concern that this is, $750,000. This is important work. We need to see this in our district. So I'm not questioning the value of that, but I do worry about the sustainability. Where are we going to find those funds moving forward? Were there additional funding, or was there additional funding through ARP that helped us finance that? And how do we sustain that long term? I'm also concerned that whenever we have an award that is that large, what is the accountability on that? Because these are outside vendors. What control do we have as a school district to ensure that the success or failure of the individuals providing those services? And I think that before, we just have to begin to think about those types of things.
Yeah, and just to respond to that, we absolutely think about that. So we have accountability measures structured. We meet with all those teams on a monthly basis. We have their supervisor who works in our school-based program, meets with our Department of Security and our student support services. They provide data each month to us of what interventions they provided, what students that they're working with. We are very much in terms of a relationship of accountability with them. And again, this was previously, we've had Pathways to Peace for many, many years, and it was actually a request from the board, once the police officers were removed from schools, that we continue a partnership with them or develop like internal services as Pathways to Peace. So again, it is a concern every year, and when we think about budget priorities, and that's how we're working to plan that. Again, we always look for grants. We were able to obtain some school violence prevention grants that help to offset some of the costs. But again, sustainability and year is something that we're really thinking about and trying to figure out in advance what we're able to do.
And is that a similar amount, would you say, as years or previous years for funding the Pathways program?
Yeah, relatively. We stick between that 700,000, sometimes almost $1 million.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Vice President LeBron.
Yeah, I just want to add to the fact that both Ibero and Pathways to Peace are two longstanding partners in this district, but if folks recall, but sometimes folks, including board members, don't remember that we had a superintendent who moved a number of items under ARPA so that it could free up A lines, because then we have more control around saving that money a little bit, and pivot as much as they could under the ARPA plan. Our ARPA plan is also listed on the website under the RCSD finance section, just anyone is curious about what was originally planned, what was moved over, and what will now have to be moved back. And this is just a good reminder for the general public and for those in the county we're swirling at, as Commissioner Malloy bubbled up, if you will. But Ibero is the only Latinx nonprofit serving organization that does a variety, but they are Latinx leading and the only Latinx full organization that we have to provide these services. And I think by procurement's process, because they're the only provider and vendor available locally, oftentimes you don't have to if they can prove that they're the only vendor. But they are the only Latinx serving, standing, representing organization. And same with Pathways coming back under general funds. And I just want to point out that we're going to see a number of these resolutions in the next couple of weeks as we have additional resolutions being brought forth this summer. And we're going to see lots of transition from ARPA into these A lines or other budget lines where we can squeeze them and fit them in, because that's where they were originally.
So I would just add to the conversation about, and I'll bring in the state monitor, the academic plan and the financial plan, because we are going to be looking at all of these contracts. That's going to be very important, because there are certain contracts that I also look at, that I know that they were gotten because of political reasons. And so, and I believe that because we're moving in a journey of excellence in this district, I believe that there are going to be certain contracts that we're no longer going to need, and I'm looking forward to that. I think that we are feeding a lot of people because we haven't over the years done our due diligence ensuring that our students are educated, but I see us turning that around and to the state monitor, and one of your recommendations is that we look at all of the contracts, and so I'm looking forward to having that kind of discussion. So Commissioner Malloy, is that all that you have?
Yeah, I would just love to see more procurement information, just before I can vote on some of those. I would love to see also how this relates just to our goals in general, and just how that will impact the academic outcomes that we've been looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Commissioner Santiago?
Yeah, I just want to say it's good to see these restorative resolutions coming along. I see with the Ibero and also the Pathways to Peace resolution, those are both for school culture and both for restorative practices. And so it's good to see that, and that is of course important as we speak about academic plans and ensuring that the school hallways and the school culture is sustainable for young people to learn in. And so I'm glad to see that. I just do have a question for Resolution 1. Just what are usually the roles of these police officers when they're on the campus?
This is for the summer school. So they provide support during entry to the beginning of the school day and provide dismissal support after school.
And what
So
does
they're
that
not
usually look
inside
like?
the building.
Yeah, what does that usually look like? Are they just parked on the property? And
Yeah.
Okay. I just find like one alarming thing with that for me personally, seeing that they aren't, they're sitting in the cars. They aren't really given much services or much conversation or anything like that. And I know that there's even some regulations to them even in getting involved if there is a fight or if there is something going on. And so I think that, money like this could be better used when we touch into our community agencies, whether that's Rise Up Rochester or putting more funding towards Pathways to Peace. Because if we have police officers just sitting in their car and not really involving in any way, it's kind of a waste of money, unless there is, a harm to the students, that we have to see to, like a threat or something like that. Of course, I agree with that. But with some of it, if there's just a police officer just out there sitting and getting paid just to sit, I have some issues with that. And so for that resolution, I'm going to vote no. But I was also wondering for a quick explanation for Resolution 20 through 22. I see that
Before you
there's some
get to that
abolishment.
one, Commissioner Santiago, if I can just comment on that. Part of the issue with having police is a presence. And there be a lot of things that will not happen because there's a police presence. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation. So while they're just sitting there, the fact is that that's what this board approved.
Yeah, and I don't fully disagree with that. I think
Yeah.
that that's a good thing that they're there, but at the same time, you know, the police officers are usually patrolling the streets anyway, so why are we paying for their presence when they're already in the city getting paid for their presence?
Because they
And
would
so-
not be at the school, so.
Yeah,
that's
well,
the,
you know, we're protecting our citizens, all of our citizens, including our students, and so I just think that, you know, for me personally, that's alarming. I'm going to vote no towards that,
Yeah.
for me personally.
Your next-
But resolution 20 through 22, if I could get a quick explanation regarding that.
Which one was that, Commissioner?
20 through 22.
B and U at the bottom.
Is there a specific question?
Just what do we mean by abolishing the positions? Is this, you know, are people going to be without a job? You know, with those.
Yeah, so good point. I think if you recall in the presentation, we reduced the number of layoffs from originally like 58 to 20, don't quote me, maybe 24. So these were individuals that would have been put on the preferred eligibility list when a position becomes open. They're listed there. And resolution number 21 is the civil service piece of that those positions were abolished, and then those people were put on a preferred eligibility list. If that was to become open again through a retirement or otherwise, they would be the first ones called in a seniority order.
Okay. And lastly, I just want to give a shout out. I see for resolution 7 that there's some new CTE programs that's in the work, and so I'm glad to see that and look forward to hearing more about that.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Santiago. Vice President LeBron.
Yeah, I just want to thank some individuals who are on the resignation. One, obviously Carmine's on here, but Michael Allen, I just wanted to uplift and thank Michael Allen for all of his years and work as the Director of Youth and Justice and in other areas throughout the district. But really, I always found his position in particular sort of isolating and challenging, if you will, because you're dealing with so many systems across the board. And I just want to thank him for his work. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Vice President. Commissioner Patterson.
Yes, I apologize. I'm a little bit late this afternoon, this evening, I should say, but I just want to speak also relative to Resolution 1, if I'm correct, and always being respectful of my colleagues. But then again, having that background in law enforcement for 27 years, I know that just having a police officer outside the schools is a deterrent and may, again, as the president said, prohibit students from doing something that, or parents, that they wouldn't have normally done because just they see that presence out in the school district or correction on a property. Then again, you look at liability. You know, when we talk about the school district,
Well, I'm gonna let Commissioner Patterson finish, and then I'm gonna go to Commissioner Simmons.
thank you. Again, you know, we talk about money. How much is a life worth? If the police officer could respond in seconds to things that are occurring on our property, is that worth whatever we're paying them? You know, are we going to put a dollar amount on a life and say, oh, we're saving a few bucks, so, you know, let's remove them from the property altogether? So knowing how much time it takes to respond, yeah, they are patrolling the areas. But you have to understand that RPD, they're short-manned anyway. So they might be calling from individuals from the west side to come over to the east side to the west side, north to south, and vice versa. And that's gonna take time. So you have to know the inner workings, you know, of RPD number one, but then again, be respectful of, you know, our rules and our regulations and our policies. But for me, you know, just having them on the property as a deterrence, speaking for myself, that's a life-saving measure. And if that's the only thing we can do at this point in time is put them on the property, then that's, you know, money well spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Patterson. Commissioner Simmons?
Thank you, President Elliott. I just wanted to take a moment, hate to jump around with the within the resolution.
That's okay.
But going back to the resignations, resolution number 15, I do see Christopher R. Smith listed, and if I'm not mistaken, this is a gentleman who's done great work with Rock Restorative for a number of years, very passionate and committed to not only our school communities, but more importantly, our students. And so hate to see him go, and not sure, I'll just say hate to see him go. But definitely want to commend and uplift the work that he has done and invited us to be part of and to see firsthand the work he's done with our students. And then my last comment is just around our programming. As we do assess and recognize there's some changes that may need to be made within our programming, that when we make those changes and those decisions, that we step aside and allow ourselves to truly see what is best for our children as well. And that is part of the outcome that we need to be measuring. And so I'm hoping that we do have concise data, information, and that we have an even playing field for the most part, because I recognize agencies have different deliverables, so it's kind of hard to do an even playing field. But based on the deliverables expected of them, that we are measuring that, looking at that, and also questioning, I think you made a great point a few meetings back, President Elliott, where you said sometimes it's not that the outcomes are not, we're not meeting outcomes because the resources, when agencies are looking to get funded or be positioned so they can start a new contract, so they can have the capacity to execute the work that needs to happen, there's this lag, and so it doesn't always happen. So I hope that we are considering things with a sober mind, and that's my soapbox, and I'll stop
Yeah,
there.
and I'll just add to the soapbox, Commissioner Simmons. I think we're in a good position because we have now the strategic framework. And I think that's going to help to guide this board in terms of the contracts that we engage with in the future. And that's also going to determine, with some of the current contracts that we have, whether or not we still need them based on our strategic framework and based on the board goals. So I'm excited for this conversation and where it's going, and that we are alert and woke, if you will, around this now. So I'm very excited about that. But I'll go back to Commissioner Santiago.
Yeah, just very quickly, in my statement, I don't question, the importance of having a police officer there, but I just also do believe that there's better ways to go down that avenue. There's organizations like Rise Up Rochester, there's community organizations that's trained in de-escalation, and that will actually be able to create a relationship and create a bond with our students of mentorship and things of that sort that will be a lot more impactful than a police officer sitting on the campus, not doing much, which again, we can, like the city and the police department has a huge budget of their own, which means that they could be around that area themselves without us having to pay extra to do the job that they're already being paid
They weren't, so
to
that's
do.
why we had to pay,
And
but
so-
also we are also passing the resolution for Pathways to Peace.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and I see
yeah.
Pathways to Peace is passing, but there's, I'm also saying that we can see how we can tap in more into those community organizations to give our young people, restorative practices and, give them a chance to be safe on campus, but with community members who look like them and not a police car that's just sitting on campus.
Point well taken, Commissioner. Vice President
This will
LeBron?
be my last point, because I do want to add to this whole conversation around that it deters violence. I've actually never seen data, and there have been lots of organizations that have gone out to other school districts where even there are school resource officers, and there has been no direct correlation that incidences were reduced, including RCSD, who for years had a number of in-house school resource officers, and that never stopped or deterred our fights, arrests. If anything, this is the school-to-prison pipeline, because officers had easier access to our students to create profiles on them and track them from school to the streets to home and gather additional data. But I just want to put on record that there is no actual data on that. That is just something that people seem to sort of naturally assume, that people will be afraid of because the police is right outside. And I can tell you, every single day on Clinton Avenue, police are out there, and there's lots of stuff still happening every single day, sometimes right in front of the officers. So I just want to put that out there, that our children also, black and brown kids are not to be policed or animals. They're children. At the end of the day, we are talking about folks who are under 21 years old, babies, And I know that historically, folks don't see black boys, especially as an 18-year-old, as a baby, but he is still a baby. And I just want to put that on record. Thank you.
This has been wonderful conversation, so thank you. Commissioners,
Griffin,
Griffin, thank you.
no problem. I just wanted to just take a stab at the CTE, the resolution, it's actually G, number 7. I'm looking at that, is that just for the summer CTE? I'm seeing the dates on there. Yeah, Summer of Opportunity Program. What about the fall? We don't have anything for the fall for the CTE?
Yep, same opportunities are available in the fall through the work-based learning program.
Okay, don't they have deadlines to enter, to submit different information for that? For the CTE program and the CDAWs?
I'm not sure I understand the
Isn't
question.
there are there dates that need to be met for these CTE or CDAWs programs? Because I don't see anything in here relevant, and we haven't passed anything. So I'm just concerned that the kids will have CTE programs in the fall across the board. This is a good program. So what is the CTE program, and are there going to be programs available like that in the fall? And when are we going to see them come through?
Yeah, Mr. Cox presented to the board the programming for the 24-25 school year. If we can put it in the board log, we can resend that presentation out.
Okay.
All right, so with all those, Commissioner Patterson?
All right, I do, I apologize, but when things are stated from this dais and they're absolutely wrong or false, I have to speak to them. I have the data from the chief of police relative to our discussion this afternoon. So if anyone wants that data on how police, how they do police, and the statistics that is behind our presence, then go to the chief of police at RPD, and he will provide you with it. I have it personally, and I have his permission, to speak relative to it. So yes, we are deterrents just by our mere presence. And yes, there's not only data in the city of Rochester, but there's data, FBI data, throughout our country on the federal level. So if you want the data, it's out there. But these are facts that I give you, not me assuming something up here. These are facts that I have in my hands and my presence. But if anyone else wants it on this board that speaks against, what I'm saying here, please let me finish, please. Please let me finish.
Yeah.
Then they're welcome to go to the chief of police, and he'll provide you with the same statistical data that he provided me with. Thank you.
Let me say this, because this seems to be getting into kind of an argument. Let's just state, let's have good debate, but, it's not necessary to question everybody. It's good debate, but I mean, people are saying the same thing over and over again. It's just not necessary. We all know we can all go find things for ourselves. So it really is not necessary to say those kinds of things for our purposes, because even data can be interpreted in different ways. So I'm going to ask if there's one more question, then I'm going to shut it. I'm going to call it question.
Yeah.
Commissioner Griffin.
One more question regarding number 7. Where are these teachers teaching at for this time period that we have this 21, the amount that this resolution is for this program? Where are they at?
We could put that question in the log.
Well, do you know where they are? What school is this being done at?
The CTE summer program?
Yeah, the CT summer program.
I can get that for you.
Yeah, let's put it in the log.
I think the resolution says 200 students enrolled in 4 new certified programs at Wilson, Monroe, Padilla, and School of the Arts.
in the resolution.
Yes, it's in the resolution, so did you look at the resolution?
Hold on, President Ali. These particular teachers are teaching now at those schools? Summer, right?
I'm just, this is additional pay.
It starts July 10th.
Right, so it's additional pay resolution. So, and that's the information in the resolution. I'm just trying to help out by providing the information that's
appreciate
available to
that.
me, but I can't necessarily answer for every nuance. I think the recommendation for a question log is probably a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
All those in favor?
I accept, I'm voting no on Resolution 1, so aye for everything, but no on 1.
I'm voting no on 1, and for lack of more scope, voting no on 3 and on 23, but yes on the others.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Commissioner Santiago?
I'm voting yes on everything besides Resolution 1.
All right, Commissioner Patterson?
Yeah, I think I'm along the same direction as Commissioner Malloy.
So do you have Commissioner Malloy's, what Commissioner Malloy voted against? Yeah, you probably need to state it. Please state it.
1, 3, and what was the other one? 20?
1, 3, and 23 is what Commissioner
23.
Malloy voted no on. Are you, and you're saying you're doing the same?
Commissioner
Police
Patterson?
resolution.
Hold on a minute, hold on a
Patterson,
minute.
1 is the RPD resolution, do you realize that?
I'm sorry.
I just,
Let him go with it. Just let him vote. How he's gonna vote. If he's not prepared, he's not prepared, but we just vote. We have the votes, we can call the meeting to order.
They have to do it one by one.
So 3 and 23. Yeah, 3 and 23, I vote no.
Okay, so all in, everybody's in favor of the remaining resolutions, all right?
I think we need to, I think I would like more information on 23 as well, but I vote for everything else. I just want to see more data on that.
So your vote is no for 23?
For now.
No, is it yes or no now? You can, not for now. So is it no or is it
Well,
yes?
yeah, it's a no. I need more data to see
All
where
right.
we're at and how we can best address the needs of the kids. So, yeah.
Motion to adjourn, oh, no.
Oh, no,
I can't
no,
adjourn.
no,
Yeah,
no,
you
no,
gotta go
no,
into
no, no.
executive.
Before we do that, one of the things I wanted to do is to honor, are you clear, Deputy Superintendent, on the votes?
If everything passed.
Okay.
Yeah, everything passed. Yeah, people had some no's. But before we do that, one of the things I want to do that I want to put on record is that we have a giant in our community who's here, who moved to Florida but is back here, by the name of Domingo Garcia, who at one point was president of this board. And I just want to acknowledge him. The mayor gave him the key of the city. He was on WXXI, the Evan Dawson's program today, talking about his work in this community. I go back with him, and I was telling him that today, when I was a 19-year-old kid, when nobody knew who I was, and I was just a little snot-nosed little girl back during that time, working at the Fight Organization. And so I remember his work and the work that he did with people like Franklin Florence and Ray Scott and some of the other people, David Gant, who go back during that time. So I wanted to just to take a moment to recognize him, recognize the work that he did on the board. He and I didn't always get along on the board, and I told him that. But he has been committed to this Hispanic community. I will tell you what he said when I heard it on the radio. You all can listen to it for yourself. He talked about the fact that we were, and this is my word, but that we were dysfunctional. He's in Florida listening to some of this work, and so people in Florida are listening to it, and I would just say that if people are listening, people are commenting, that I'd like to make sure that we are having a good, what's the word, reputation, or the way in which we engage, because people are really looking at it. Now, having said that, I did tell him about, when he was on the board, it wasn't all that working well. There was some dysfunction when he was on the board as well, and that the dysfunction goes back at least 30 years. So it's not one specific board. It goes back that far. And it's not only this board, but when you look at boards around the country, they're having some of the same problems that we're having. But I'm believing that we're going to be able to work through the issues and the concerns that we have, and that we're going to move forward. However, in spite of that, we're keeping this work going in the name of Jesus. Let me just tell you that. And so, having said that, I'd ask for a motion to go into executive session. Let me get to the statement. To discuss matters leading to the appointment or employment of a particular person or corporation, and to receive the advice of the general counsel as permitted by Section 105 of the Open Meetings Law. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Vice President LeBron, seconded by Commissioner Simmons. We will we will adjourn at the meeting downstairs. And so for this portion of the meeting, we will